If you are wanting to be a foster parent because you love the kids in foster care and you want to help them out, you might be wondering, do foster parents get paid? Well, this subject is a subject of much controversy because there are so many bad actors in foster care who are doing it just for the money. And because of that, there's been a bad rap when it comes to foster care and payment. So we're going to dig into that controversy today, and we're going to talk about, first of all, why foster parents get paid, and then we're going to talk about how much foster parents actually get paid. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want more content like this, where I talk about adoption, foster care, and also advocacy for children in need. And we also have a free adoption training. If you want to adopt and you have no idea where to start, I have a free adoption training for you called How to Grow Your Family Successfully Through Adoption Without Losing Time, Money, or Hope in the Process. So if that's you and you want to know the 3 secrets to adopting successfully, click the link in the description box below to access the free training. All right, so let's get right into the video. First question, why do foster parents get paid? Now, the first thing I want to say is foster parents don't get paid. You know, you're not getting paid for a service. It's not like you are going to work and then you get a paycheck. That's not how it works with foster parenting. The reason why foster parents get some type of payment is to cover the expenses for your foster child, okay? So think about that for a minute. If you're a parent, you know that kids are expensive. You know, we love our kids. They're amazing. You know, they're a blessing from the Lord, but they're expensive. That's just the reality. You know, you have to pay for activities. You have to pay for daycare. You have to pay for food. You have to pay for clothing. That's the responsibility of a parent. So kids cost money. It's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. And so as an incentive to try to get more families to foster, the state created the system of, you know, reimbursing foster parents for expenses for the foster child by giving a check every month. So the check is not to pay you. It's not your income. It's not like, hey, thank you for your service, here's your money. That's not how it works. The money that you get, it's basically called a subsidy. It's to cover the expenses for the child. So it covers basic needs such as food, clothing, transportation, and things like that. And so the children also have Medicaid, which helps with their medical expenses, which is really helpful because if you're not able to put that child on your medical insurance, most insurance companies won't allow you to put your foster child on the medical insurance. They have to be adopted or you have to be a legal guardian. And so the state makes sure that that's covered, again, to not create a barrier for families to take these kids in their home. And so Medicaid covers the medical expenses, which is really helpful. And then usually, you know, if it's a baby, they come with WIC or any other type of state assistant to help cover formula and things like that. And also daycare, which is, I think it's Title 41 that covers that, where it covers daycare expenses as well and school expenses as well. And so that's really helpful as a foster parent because you know that kids are expensive. They come with needs that you have to meet and it takes money to meet those needs. And so that money that the state pays is not a form of payment. Like, thank you for being a foster parent, here is your check. It's here's the money to cover the expenses for caring for this child, okay? So we want to make sure that that's very clear. Now, like I said before, there are a lot of bad actors who come into foster care thinking that these foster care payments are a form of payments for them, like, oh, we're going to get a check for this child, so let's just do foster care so we can get paid. That's not how it's supposed to work, and this is why we have some people who masquerade as foster parents and are abusing and neglecting these kids and keeping the money for themselves instead of the money supposed to be a reimbursement for the money that you spent to take care of that child, okay? That's what it's supposed to be for. That's what it's intended for, okay? Now, you're becoming a foster parent because you love these kids, right? You are giving these service because you love them, not because you want to get paid for it, okay? So I want to make that very, very clear. So now let's talk about how much do foster parents get paid. So actually, you can even just type into Google like foster care subsidy by state, and you'll find information about the average of how much foster parents get reimbursed every month by state. So you can look that up for your own state. The amount that foster parents get reimbursed varies state by state. okay? And so you can call your foster care agency if you want to and ask them, or you can just look it up online. The information is out there for you to see. So the way that the state does it is that they categorize the level of needs that the children have. It's also depending on age, special needs, things like that. And so the more needs that a child has, the more you'll get reimbursed to cover the expenses. So if you think about a child that has higher medical needs, they have to go to the doctor more often, maybe they have to see a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, things like that. Those all cost money, and that also you're transporting these kids back and forth to all of these things. So they recognize that some of the kids have higher needs, and so you get reimbursed more for the more time that you're spending for a child that has more needs. And so there's kind of like a tier level or like a category that they have. Every state has a different way of how they kind of do that. So they'll let you know if you bring a child into your home, they'll let you know, okay, this is the level or category or whatever, and so this is how much the state will reimburse you every month for the needs for that child. Okay, so every state is different. So let's now talk about, can you claim your foster child on your taxes? Well, that depends. I think that's a conversation you need to have with your caseworker. I know that some foster parents say yes, if you've had the child with you for most of the year, you should claim them. I always steer on the side of asking the caseworker, just because I've worked in juvenile court and there's always confusion when it comes to these kinds of things of who can do what. And so I always steer on the side of ask your caseworker, make sure that it is something that you're able to do before you just go ahead and claim them on your taxes for the year. The other thing to keep in mind is, so if you end up adopting your foster child, sometimes the state will give you an adoption subsidy. I would say most of the time. You'll have to, again, talk to your caseworker, make sure you understand how it works in your state and what you can maybe still get when you do adoption subsidies. And so the states do provide adoption subsidies, and that means that it's still a small amount, some type of amount that you get after you adopt the child. I don't know if they do it by like a certain number of years and it stops, or it's kind of continuous until their majority. That's something for you to talk to your state about. But you can get an amount every month to continue to reimburse you for the expenses for your adopted child. So, I mean, that can make you feel a certain type of way. I don't know, like, for me, I feel like once I've adopted that child, it's not my child, so now I'm responsible for their expenses. But sometimes it's just really helpful for families who have a lot of children already to have that help every month. You know, it just helps to cover expenses, you know, to have that. And so you can ask your caseworker about that. That is definitely available to you if you adopt a child from foster care. And then also, when it comes to adoption in general, when you adopt from foster care, you can actually get a tax credit back. And so it gets a little bit complicated about the tax credit, but I made a video about that right here that you can go and watch after this video that breaks down everything you need to know about the adoption tax credit. I believe you can get back up to, I think it's $14,880 or something like that, but it differs a little bit when it comes to foster care. So make sure that you check out that video after you finish watching this video to hear more about the adoption tax credit that's available to you. And so the reason why all of this is available is obviously so that it makes it easier for someone who really wants to open up their home to kids in need to alleviate that financial burden that comes with having a child in your home, especially if you've never had a child before and you have no idea how expensive kids can be. It can be a shock when you have a kid. You're like, oh my gosh, you know, I have to feed them and I have to clothe them, like, you know, they cost money. But those who are already parents, you already understand, like, of course it makes sense to reimburse because we know that kids cost money. And so this is why foster parents get reimbursed, not paid. They get reimbursed for the expenses that come with having a foster child. Okay, so if you have any questions about the adoption tax credit, again, I would really encourage you to check out that video after this, to watch that, to give you more understanding about the adoption tax credit. And if you want to adopt and that's your heart's desire and you are stuck right now, you're not sure where to go, you don't know where to start, and you feel confused with all the research you've been doing, make sure to check out my free adoption training. Okay, it's in the links below in the description box and in the comments, and it's really going to help you understand how to grow your family successfully through adoption without losing any more time, any more money, or hope in the process especially. Okay, so make sure you check out that free training, and I hope to see you in there. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel and make sure you like this video. Bye bye.